I now have 6 o'clock. It's time to call to order the Planning and Zoning Commission regular meeting of Tuesday, September 8th. Roll call. It looks like I'm missing Commissioner Dower. He's excused absence. He has an excused absence this evening. The rest of the commissioners are here with us. I'd like to start off with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The next item on the agenda is the citizen comment period. The Assistant City Secretary has informed me nobody has signed up for the citizen comment period. There's a second citizen comment period at the end of the meeting. And we have 2 public hearings, the potential for 2 public hearings this evening as well. So everybody should have an opportunity to be heard if they have something to speak about. We'll move right into business items. I trust that all the commissioners had a chance to look at the minutes for the August 11th meeting. Were there any additions or omissions or anything anybody want to speak about? And I'll entertain a motion for the minutes.
I make a recommendation that we approve the minutes as written.
I have a motion from Commissioner Owen. I need a second.
I second.
Got a second from Commissioner Valdez. All in favor?
Aye.
The minutes of August 11th are approved. The second item on the business agenda is a petition by Richard Winkler for rezoning of a parcel that's presently residence agriculture, and he wants to change it, have it changed to light industrial. It's a parcel that measures 4.7.61 acres of a 7.141 acre tract of land situated here in Garden Ridge. Is Mr. Winkler in attendance? Yes, sir. Mr. Winkler, would you come up and state your case for us, if you would, please?
Parcels of land. One is a 7.14 acre, and there's another one that is an 11.178. And we're right on the corner of 2252 and Nacogdoches Loop Road. And we head down, I guess that'd be to the east towards the railroad track. And we have, yes, we're wanting to plat out 8 lots to be sold. And in this area, I think it was scheduled or requested to be the light retail all along Nacogdoches Loop. But the problem with that is there's no traffic down Nacogdoches Loop. All your traffic basically runs on 2252. And if you do go down Nacogdoches Loop, it's somebody lost or somebody in traffic trying to get away from traffic. So what we would like to do is, I also own Winco Contractors, which is the bottom parcel up there. What we'd like to do is continue those type of buildings all the way up. And it's kind of a little hidden corner back there. And really that's what we feel like that's would be the best zoning for it. And like I said, right now it's in rural agricultural. And the city of Garden Ridge, they make about $60 a year off of that for, on taxes. And if we split it up, you know, I can foresee, and if we get it built out, and the tax that the city would see would be somewhere in, I'd say at least, you know, $240 plus $1,000 in 10 years. And if we're waiting on mom and pop stores or light retail, it's not gonna happen, because you've got a lot of acreage up and down 2252 that is vacant, that is presently zoned for retail, and I just don't see anything coming in there anytime real soon. So I think it'd really benefit the city to go ahead and make it light industrial. Business one would be fine, but there's not a category for that anymore. We had some land over across the fence from us, and that's what we were zoned on it. And then when we rezoned for our new office, we had to go to light industrial because there wasn't a B1 for it. So that's what I've got.
What is the present use of the property?
Sir?
What is the present use of the property?
It's for grazing cattle.
Commissioners, I'm sure you had a chance to look through the packet. I'm sure you have some questions.
I have a question.
At this time, at 6:07, I'd like to call hold a public hearing to hear what any citizens in order have to say about this proposal. So you can have a seat.
Thank you.
Sir, you can come up, and you need to sign up after.
Oh, sign up over there, okay.
After you present.
After?
Yes.
Hey, I'm Randy Cottingham, and I've got the property across the street from the property under consideration. And I really have no objection to the plan, except provisionally is, I went over there today to make sure, but I think whoever put that metal gate fence, a metal gate about 300 feet from the current Knowlton driveway, was thinking, because that's about the safest place to come out of there, because next to the corner's too close. It's a pretty dangerous corner, that curve where Knowlton's driveway is. And then there's a rise that comes off of Nacogdoches, and if you are too close to that, you're gonna get a surprise when you come over that hill. So I think I walked it off between 300 and 400 feet from Knowlton's driveway is probably the best place for ingress egress. So that would be my main concern about them putting that in there, is the traffic situation. I assume since it's a light industrial, my daughter lives in that corner and there won't be anything noisy or whatever like that. So that would be a little bit of concern, but I'm assuming light industrial would not be that. So I don't think that stretch of road right there really is conducive to a lot of traffic. And ideally that property would have been developed coming off of Nacogdoches instead of Nacogdoches Loop, because that's a very short run of road. You got the rise coming off of Nacogdoches, you got the curve in there, and it's just kind of a good place to see some accidents start happening if you're not careful about the ingress egress. So as far as developing, changing the zoning, no problem. Just make it safe. And at least probably anything that's going on a couple hundred feet from that house, because they're gonna live there and it's residential across the street, so, okay? That's my main comment. Any questions?
No, thank you.
Yep.
Anyone else? Well, if no one else intends to speak, I'll open it up to the commissioners for their discussion. I'll start on my left. I'm sorry. Okay. Oh, you have a written comment, I'm sorry.
We did receive one written comment. Each of you should have a copy in front of you. It is from Ronald Travis, president and owner of Ratco LC. I own the office building 18945 FM 2252, or parcel number 12 noted on your sketch sent referencing the proposed rezoning of land along FM 2252 and Nacogdoches Loop. The result of allowing the proposed rezoning will place in the future 9 commercial/industrial businesses on the proposed new lots. Besides my historic Bracken Village that is south of this location and the stone office building across the street at 18945 FM 2252, the street I also own 15 such commercial/industrial properties in Comal and Bexar counties. These proposed lots would indeed be ideal for commercial/industrial warehouses because they would sit on large lots allowing a great yard around each building. What I fear is that instead of the nice office buildings sitting on tree-lined lots like you have been allowing along FM 2252, you will now find chain-linked fenced gravel yards full of all kinds of stuff allowed in L1 commercial/industrial properties. Look at the mess south of Garden Ridge where there is nothing but metal warehouses popping up. Do you want that in Garden Ridge? The residents of Garden Ridge won't enjoy looking at the mess, and it will hurt the market value of other properties in the area. I recommend you vote against the proposed rezoning and keep to your offices nestled in trees.
Thank you. Again, I'll ask if any citizens want to speak. If not, we'll close the public hearing at 6:12 p.m. Now I'll ask if the commissioners have anything to say, starting on my left.
I have a comment based on that. May I speak?
I closed already, sir. I'm sorry, I didn't see your hand.
You didn't even look up to see if I wanted to say anything.
Did you speak already, sir?
Well, she made another letter, I want to comment on the letter.
It's a one-time offer. The public hearing, you're allowed to speak one time only. So it's not a give and take in the public hearing.
Well, I'm not rebutting. That's fine. You're gonna do what you're gonna do, apparently.
I was asking for comments for the commissioners on my left.
I reviewed the proposed change, and I feel that it's appropriate that we could change the zoning there because of the location. It doesn't front off of 2252 as a business would. I tend to agree that it's a off-the-road setback, and there's going to be large lots. That's kind of attractive. Without anything going on it right now as laid out to approve this zoning to fit, I have a little bit of problem with that.
I too, looking at what Mr. Winkler said and all, and I did not know that B1 was no longer available to use. That is the current ordinance. The future shows the possibility of light retail along 2252. The one, while he's correct that if you turn on Nacogdoches Loop, most of the properties he's trying to divide would be somewhat hidden. But when you look at what comes in the future, the lot on the corner of 2252, the largest one based on the map he's got drawn, would not work out with light industrial. And I think the property, once we get to the new ordinance definitions and all, I think the land can be adjusted to where, you know, light retail would still work. And B1, my biggest concern is if it goes light industrial, oh my goodness, the things that could go in there. Well, you can look at the current zoning and see what's allowed. So I do have the concern of having it zoned light industrial.
Okay, have similar comments. In your application for zone changing, question 12 continued, you have a paragraph in here and it said, yeah, to your understanding, that B1 and B12 are no longer available. Again, that's not true. It's still in Ordinance 13. In the new ordinance that we're working on, it just has a different name change. B1 goes to NC, Neighborhood Commercial, and B2 goes to Community Commercial. So they still exist, and they're going to be in the new ordinance as well, but there's going to be a different term. So again, like Commissioner Diaz mentioned, that corner lot is ideal for retail. It's right there on 2252. It's got the biggest one. It's going to be an attractive location there. So that one, yeah, that's my biggest concern, that corner lot. It's the biggest one there, and it's ideal for retail. Thank you. So.
On my right?
I share the concerns of my fellow commissioners. It's inconsistent with our master plan as it's currently written, and it should be developed as what's consistent with B1 or B2 as currently stated in our current ordinance. So I have reservations about a zoning change.
I too have concerns regarding the zoning request, and I echo what my fellow commissioners also said. I won't repeat those, but I also have a concern with the proposed zoning, the light industrial, where there'll be a number of different things that can be developed in there, and my concern is about the aquifer protection. This area falls in the aquifer protection district. And with that light industrial, it could be a number of different developments in there that could potentially be a little challenging there. And that's my concerns there. Thank you.
What has been said also sums up my concerns. It's one of the few times we all think similar. It is out of the way. Parts of it are out of the way. Other parts of it are not out of the way. And what I'm gathering from my co-commissioners is that the parts that aren't out of the way, we'd like to and had planned for it to be light retail in the future. I'm unsure, to a certain extent. Our problem is when we speak into the future, nobody knows the future. Our problem is you may have the idea of what you want to develop, but should the property change hands in the future, we don't know what somebody coming after you may want to put in there under the heading of light industrial. And that gives us pause when we talk about rezoning the whole city. We have to take that into account to a certain extent. The area going down 2252 towards Bracken has seen a lot of a development, and I venture to say it's not what I expected or not what I wanted. I'm for Garden Ridge. I go past there not that often. I don't head out that way that often. But when I do go past, it's not something I necessarily had looked to see in the future on a regular basis. But that's not for me to determine. It's for the citizens of Garden Ridge to determine. We're talking, I think it was 8 parcels that you want to put in there. The largest, again, is largest of which is along Nacogdoches, 2252. And I know in my mind, I was thinking that's, light retail, and exactly what we had in mind for that area. That's pretty much all I have to say about it. I would agree with you. I've been around that loop maybe a dozen times in 16 years. And most of the time it was just to see what was back there. It's not a thoroughfare that I would use on a regular basis. I can't speak to how many other people will use it in the future. And I think we can't speak to, as development comes along, 2252, how often it'll be used. I guess the prudent thing to do now is take a vote among my commissioners unless somebody else has some more discussion for this. I'm getting a sign from the city secretary, excuse me, the city attorney.
The one thing that I'm not clear on, and that I'm not sure that I came up in discussion, except perhaps Commissioner Heyer, when you said master plan, you were indicating the city's comprehensive plan? Yes. Okay. City Administrator, is the zoning request compliant with the comprehensive plan?
No, ma'am.
And the reason I bring that up, Commissioners, is because one of the requirements is that a request for zoning or rezoning must be compliant with the city's comprehensive plan. So that's just a reminder that that's a requirement of the local government code.
Thank you. Any other discussion? I'm ready for a vote then.
Motion?
I need a motion.
I move for rejecting the request to have this parcel of property changed to light retail, to light industrial.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. By show of hands, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? It's unanimous. Sir, unfortunately, Planning and Zoning Commission disapproves your request for change in zoning at this time.
Makes a recommendation to council that it will.
And we will make a recommendation to council, who has the final say in it, and then that recommendation can go before city council and the next city council meeting in October. The second petition is from Scott Smith for rezoning of a resident agriculture district to neighborhood service district. I'm sorry, at B1, of approximately 1.734 acres out of the George M. Dolson Survey 96, Abstract 120, Comal County, Texas, and also being out of a 49.84 acre tract described in volume 194, page 138 of the deed records of Comal County, Texas. The property is further located on the south side of FM 2252, across from 19295 and 19269 FM 2252 in Garden Ridge. Is Scott Smith available?
I am.
To come present your case for us, please?
Is it on? I guess so. I am petitioning for rezoning to commercial, as the land as advertised under Realtor.com as residential. My plan is to open an office building. I'm an insurance broker. It will be an insurance service center, and I plan to build about 10 other offices to sublet to business professionals, realtors, people of those nature. So the plan, I apologize for my crude drawing because I don't have a drawing as of yet because I don't own the property. The other part of the land will be left wooded until phase 2, a secondary building would be built in the future. It would be a retail space for public as well. So they can come in and shop for insurance, home and auto, commercial, that kind of thing.
So do I understand in the future, you plan to have 2 buildings on that lot?
One to adjacent, yes.
Heading which way? Down Knock?
They would be kind of in the same direction, both facing the road. I'm sorry? Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So they don't have that up there. The audience doesn't have that up there. There we
Right there.
Yes, that's it. The drawing is not to scale, so I apologize.
But where it says wooded is where you're talking about putting a second building.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay.
Well, let me ask then.
Yes, sir.
How far into the future are you thinking about a second building?
If you don't hold my feet to the fire, hopefully 5 to 7 years. I have to outgrow the current building first.
And the proposed footprint of the second building?
It would be very similar in nature.
Okay, anybody else on the commission have some questions? I want to get them out of order every time. Thank you, sir. I now have 6:27. I'd like to call a public hearing for consideration of a proposal by Scott Smith for rezoning of the parcel just discussed. Anybody in the audience who wants to stand up and speak to that, please come to the podium. I remind you to please give your name and address after you speak. Does anybody wish to speak? And I'm going to open it up to the commissioners. I'll start on my left again. I'm sorry?
For the record, I just want to state I don't have any written comments. And before you open up to the commission, can you close the public hearing? Thank you.
I now have 6:28, and I close the public hearing. Now, can I have any comments from my commissioners on my left? If there are any.
Residential agriculture land up in that area is going to sometime be developed, and neighborhood services or small buildings are located across the street from this proposed area, and it seems to fit within the development for that type of commercial building as opposed to leaving it agriculture, which would then not allow it to be developed. The sewer system's going to go through that way, so they would be able to hook up to that sewer system, which would be somewhat of the development that I think we would want in that area. I'm not opposed to it. I don't have any questions on it, but at this time, it's just a rezoning, and we kind of have an idea what he's trying to put on it, so that's helpful.
Thank you, Ms. Owen. Ms. Diaz?
Does this one fit within the plan for the future? Okay.
It does.
Okay. I guess I just had a question as to why he's requesting B1 and not B2 because that's office and professional. I'm just curious.
Our current zoning ordinance, office and professional is allowed in B1 zoning, which is neighborhood services,
Got it.
basically our current retail.
Okay,
So it is an allowed use within that.
okay. Excellent. Thank you. That was my only question.
Only question I had is, if we do approve the rezoning, are there any variances or special use permit that will be required? City Administrator?
Well, we aren't going to know what kind of variances may possibly be required until he gets into a situation where we go into the platting and master planning
Okay.
of the development.
Okay.
And then also, one of the things that will impact that is, will we have our new zoning ordinance in place at that time, or will still be under our
Oh,
current zoning ordinance?
Okay. Okay. Just, that's actually the only question I had. I'm
It's
okay
just
with it.
a little too early for the,
Okay. I thought it might be, but, thank you.
Am I right?
My only concern is, and I'm not opposed to rezoning, would be based on the drawing provided and the stated future use with the build-out of a second building, that we may need to look at an impervious cover variance or something like that. Of course, it's impossible to know that, given what we have and what may
Correct.
be in the future, but that would be my only reservation.
and that may very possibly be a variance that would have to be required in the future.
Right, that's all I have.
Commissioner Jackman?
I have no concerns or objections to this proposed rezoning.
Okay, thank you. I myself, when I looked at it in preparation for the meeting, had no real problems with the, kind of threw me a curveball with the second building. And it really doesn't affect the zoning, and it sounds like we're gonna have a second bite at this apple in terms of variances and any special uses that may be necessary. And so that alleviates my biggest concerns. It does fit with the character of the neighborhood, and I have no real big objections to it. I would entertain a motion. Excuse me.
Chairman Miller?
Yes?
I'm noting here in the application that at the time of the application, which was back in July, that the applicant was under contract to purchase the property. Do we have an update if that purchase went through? Do we?
We're still under contract pending the rezoning.
That answer your questions? Okay, thank you.
Is that a problem? Is that a concern or a problem, or?
Yes, it should be.
Okay, so,
It should be a concern because if he doesn't have ownership of the property, although it's under contract and it sounds that it's conditional upon the zoning requirement, I guess the concern here is if for any other reason that sale goes through, we have rezoned a property
that's not his.
that's not his.
I see.
My suggestion would be to make that rezoning contingent.
On the purchase.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you please come to the mic so we can get everybody to hear? I'm sorry.
I'm Mr. Smith's agent, real estate agent, and of course, the reason it is contingent on the rezoning is because if it's not rezoned, then he can't do what he intends to do. However, I don't think that he's not gonna go through with it once
I mean, we're closing soon, so I think that it will continue, but if you'd like to make it contingent, I think it's fine. Yeah. Yeah.
The reason we're here is because he wouldn't do it. The owner.
Right, the owner allegedly had been trying to get it done for years, but I don't know that he actually ever tried. That's what was told to us. So we have to take the reins and move forward with that. So, but that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is that the type of question we should be asking in the future, City Attorney?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
You have a suggested wording for the motion?
I guess at this time I'll entertain a motion then.
Okay, go ahead.
I move we accept Mr. Smith's request to have his parcel of property as referenced in the legal description submitted, contingent and based upon his actual purchase of the property. At that time, I would say we would allow the rezoning, but not until he has brought the necessary paperwork to the city to show that the property is his.
Mr. Chairman, I just have a comment to make. I think it would be prudent to put some sort of time limit on it, 60 days, 90 days, something like that. Because as stated, it could go on forever until he purchases the property.
Well, it wouldn't change. The zoning wouldn't
Right,
change.
correct, but it could hold up somebody else doing something with it.
Can we?
I think that's probably a well-thought idea.
So, added to my motion would be that the paperwork should be presented to the city within, we give them 60 days or 30 days?
I would say 30 days myself, but,
Okay, 30 days, since they're already under contract.
right, since they are already under
Right.
contract.
Okay, so can we add that to the motion that there is a 30-day stipulation for all that paperwork to be presented to the city?
I have a motion, I'm waiting a second.
Second.
Okay. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All against? Okay, it's unanimous. And a reminder to the audience, as chairman, I don't vote unless there's a tie. So it's unanimous. I closed the public hearing, hadn't I? Moving right along. Item D, discussion, reports, and updates. Items applicable to the Planning and Zoning Commission discussed at the September City Council meeting. I presented our findings to City Council regarding the petition by Mr. Overman. I outlined to them, and I hope I didn't overstep my bounds. I saw there was three things that basically came out of the meeting. Number one, there was some concerns about trust within the city of the whole process. Number two, there was some concerns about the spacing of the public hearings. It seemed rushed. But number three, an overriding concern of the commission and the citizens was the density of the project. I presented that to City Council. There was some questions about it and not a whole lot of angst. It was in line with most of what most of them thought in terms of the density. And Mr. Overman, having pulled the request, gets a chance to go back and relook the numbers and see if it's a viable enough proposition for him to come back to us. If not, we'll wait the next person that comes along with a plan for that property. D2, Ordinance 210. seems like we talk about ordinance 210 every month in one way or the other. I don't attend other commission meetings, so I don't know if they have as much problem with 210 as we do, but it seems like every month we have something with 210. We have three
Not
commissioners.
since March, I don't think.
We're special.
That'd be the only way. At this time, we have three commissioners with expiring terms. Commissioner Jackman has had one term, and it expires the end of September, or September 20th. Commissioner Diaz has served one term plus one partial term. And Commissioner Owen has served 11 terms and one partial term. The first thing I guess I have to ask is, was the plans or the ideas that each commissioner has about serving another term? Are you interested or not interested, as the case may be? And we'll start with Commissioner Jackman. First of all, can I ask you, am I pronouncing your name right?
Yes, sir.
The J is hard.
Yes.
Okay,
So, yes, I am interested in continuing to serve.
okay. That's sufficient. Ms. Diaz?
Yes, I would like to continue to serve.
And Ms. Owen?
Mr. Chairman, I
Yes.
would be honored to serve another term as we complete our work.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear the last part.
I would be honored to complete the term as we complete the work of the city.
Okay,
But according to ordinance 210, she's no longer eligible to continue because it says it's got a 4-term max.
has a 4-term max.
There's 2 stipulations that require
We'd have to ask for a variance.
you have to ask for, yes.
What's
City
called-
administrator?
I believe the city secretary is going to show the section that applies to us.
Ms. Owens' reappointment to the commission last time was based on, can you hold that still, Kat? Sorry. On the good cause exception for the one additional term. So that waiver or that variance, exception has already been granted. Once, yes.
Yes.
Which put her back on the commission or let her continue serving on the commission for that 2-year term
Yes.
that's expiring.
Yeah, and you know, I went back and looked at this. Can you roll it up just a little bit, Kat? Oh, yes. And section E is what I was looking at, okay? And reading section E, you know, I told you guys before I took this spinal contrarian by nature, okay? And I argued for Mrs. Owen the first time, and I'd be glad to argue for her a second time, or any of you. That comes from my training in the Army. You stick up for your people, simple as that. And I've not deviated from that unless I really have to. And tonight I'm looking for guidance, probably from the city attorney, because I'm reading that maybe a different way than some other people read it. And I'm reading it as where good cause exists to appoint a person for a 4th or longer consecutive term. For this purpose, good cause will be determined by city council and includes, but is not limited to, circumstances in which. And then it goes into the 2 second circumstances. But when they put that in includes, but is not limited to, that means not only those 2 circumstances would apply, but there may be some other circumstances that would apply. And I think I need a legal opinion more than anything else, because when I read that, I said, okay, yeah, we use one of our chits, okay? We use one of our chits, and it was well served, Ms. Owen. Ms. Owen, you know, we needed your experience. There's no doubt about it. You've been an exemplary commissioner since then, always were, and we need your guidance. And I think, although we've gotten 2 years of experience since then, I don't know that that will be all we need. So when I read that, I said, you know, there might be another way around it. It sounds like you might be interested in another way around it. But when I'm reading it, I'm saying, you know, I guess I could have the city attorney to interpret that for me. And we have to go with that. I think I know what city council meant, but I can't speak to city council. I'm not on city council. They're the elected officials, and they came up with this ordinance. I believe the ordinance dates to 2017, if I'm correct. And I was on planning and zoning at that time. I knew most of the city council at that time, but I can't profess to know what they meant when they came up with this ordinance. Can I get an opinion from the city attorney?
So in reviewing the two sections together, item E does indicate that for purposes of that particular section, good cause will be determined by the city council. And then it goes through and provides some additional references as to what good cause is. And then going down, we have, you know, item F. This is a person who is not eligible for reappointment to a commission under this section will remain ineligible for reappointment to said commission for a period of 1 year from the date the person's terms will expire. I think the long and short of this is that the conundrum here is that the work that's gone into the planning and zoning and where we're at could theoretically fall into a scenario where, you know, city council needs to be the arbitrator of does good cause exist beyond the provisions of the actual ordinance itself. Because the intent of the ordinance, as I recall, was that to allow others to serve. However, you know, in some instances, because of knowledge base, those provisions were inserted in the event we found ourselves in a similar type of scenario here, where we're close to the end of adoption of a zoning ordinance. I don't recall if there's any additional language in the ordinance itself regarding city council being the final arbiters of any recommendation put forth to them based on the exceptions.
I think what I heard you say was that we can make our recommendation and that's all to city council, and they are the ones to decide whether or not she can be accepted for a second exception. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, and what I would recommend is, since we do have an issue with that, perhaps we work it in reverse, put forth the two recommendations that we are absolute on, and then request direction from city council as to how they interpret that provision of the ordinance.
Okay. Okay. Then at this time, I guess, what I'll do is ask for approval of the request from Commissioner Diaz and Commissioner Jackman for recommending to City Council another term for those two individuals. And in the case of Commissioner Owen, I will have to present a case for Ms. Owen to City Council again to interpret as to whether or not we can get an exception, another exception for Ms. Owen to stay on the commission.
So we're treating those separately, so I'll go ahead and make a motion that we recommend to City Council to reappoint Commissioner Diaz and Commissioner Jackman to another 2-year term, starting October 1st.
Okay. I have a motion. Can I have a second for that motion?
Second.
A motion and a second for recommendation to City Council to continue the terms or appoint for another term Commissioner Jackman and Commissioner Diaz, and ask for their guidance in terms of the status of Ms. Owens and whether or not they'll grant another exception. Did I state that right for everybody's satisfaction?
Well, I think I heard already, we're treating those separately. We're
Yes,
treating,
we're treating
so
them
those 2 different items.
Two separate items.
So the motion is on the ones we're gonna,
Yes,
and then you treat the other ones separately.
Yes.
So,
I thought we already voted.
No.
We did not vote.
We didn't vote on the first one.
We did not vote on Diaz and Jackman? Okay. I had a motion, I had a second. Can I have a vote on the motion for Diaz and Jackman?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. How about the motion for taking the, there's not a motion for that, okay.
I think that you need to have some sort of action to take it forward to city council.
On the, how the commission feels about it. That's what you're saying, yeah. And that's what I was seeing was missing. Do we have a discussion about Ms. Owen being appointed for another term? Anybody have any discussion on that?
Just wholeheartedly supported.
Okay.
by consensus, then?
I kind of like the way you are stipulating this. However, what I think we're really doing is putting the onus on city council to uphold 210. And, I mean, personally, I can't believe that you have served 22 years on this, on this commission. And, I mean, I got to hand it to you for that. But I have a problem with saying that we're not reading what it says in the terms of office, and knowing that we went in 2 years ago for the exception, the one exception it gives us. I'm concerned that city council may think that we're not willing to abide by 210, where in the past, believe me, we did abide by 210. And I know personally on that. However, I'm almost to the point of saying, Kitty, I can't believe the service that you've done for this city. And however, I do not want city council to think that this commission is just going to keep going back to the well, because there's reasons to go back to the well, you know, where we don't have enough knowledge on the commission, or we actually have the one chit we used, which was to request a variance for another 2 years for Ms. Owen. I do have a problem with that.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question. Question for the city administrator. Do we currently have any other applicants for this committee or this commission?
We do. We received an applicant this morning, and then we have several applicants that had been interviewed over the past couple of years that were not selected, that we can reach out to and find out if they're willing to, if they desire to, if they still desire to serve the city on planning and zoning.
Was there any reason that those so the new applicant was just brought forward this morning then?
Yes, we received an application this morning.
So it's too late to have it come be
Oh,
on the
yes,
agenda?
too late,
I
yes.
got it. Mr. Chairman, that presents somewhat of a dilemma, because we could have a qualified applicant, yet we don't know that yet without seeing the applications, so.
Yeah, that's number two there. And I can say from the Water Commission that we lost two great commissioners from the Water Commission, last year for this reason, that, yeah, because of 210, so.
210, okay.
So lost two, and for that reason, they stepped down from that reason, so
like I said, I'm contrarian, and I look back and looked at it, and I said, oh, geez, and certainly I anticipated some discussion on it one way or the other, unless Ms. Owen just didn't, want to do it anymore. And certainly I can understand it at the 22 years. But also, I realized that what we're doing now is, or could be seen by a lot of people, the culmination of what it's all about to serve on planning and zoning, is the development of 2252. At the pace we're going now, another year go by and reapply, you're right, or all of us could be eliminated for term limits. It's just, it's moving slower than we anticipated. Be that as it may, I can understand her wanting to see some culmination of the time she's put in, 22 years, and I respect that. And like I said, I'm prepared, based on what the commission decides, to take it to city council and make an argument. I can tell you that when I thought about it, I said, okay, if the city attorney says, that's it, we can't go, that's it, we can't go. But if the city attorney says we have some leeway, my arguments will be more in terms of, these are unusual times that we're in right now. None of us anticipated losing essentially 6 months of planning and zoning meetings. I think we've canceled like 4 meetings in the last 6 months. Things slowed down enough before that we actually went from 2 meetings a month back to 1 meeting a month, okay? And now things looks like picking up a little bit again, and we may in fact have to go to 2 meetings a month, heaven forbid. But I would gladly do 2 meetings a month if we can get rid of this COVID thing one way or the other, and if it necessitated it. And so, I think these are unusual times. I've had to do some things in my life that I never anticipated doing. And I think, to your point, Commissioner Diaz, City Council may look at us cross-eyed, and I'm used to them looking at me cross-eyed once a month when I get up and give them a synopsis of what we talked about. And I know we may be a thorn in their side sometimes, but I think as the elected officials of the city, that's pretty much their job. None of them have stopped speaking to me yet. And they may, in fact, mumble, oh, here we go again, when I stand up and speak, but so be it. That having been said, I would ask for a motion to take the second part of this to City Council, to argue for Ms. Owen to continue on the commission. Do I have a motion to take it to City Council? Without a motion, the subject pretty much dies, I believe, and can't go anywhere with it. So we fall back to interpretation of the ordinance as written. And the ordinance is written, Ms. Owen, unfortunately, means that we won't be able to pursue another term for you at this time. There are other opportunities in the city to volunteer. I know for one, I'm caught off guard having to tell you my appreciation of serving with you on planning and zoning. I'm sure the city is appreciative of you having spent 22 years on the Planning and Zoning Commission. Your guidance over the last 3 or 4 years I've been on the commission, and I said, oh, geez, I didn't think of that. There's many times you've said something, and I've said, oh, geez, I didn't think of that. And I've learned as I've gone along. I'm sure some other co-commissioners have also learned as we've gone on. And it sounds hollow, but at this point in time, we thank you for your service.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for your kind words.
Moving on.
Mr. Chairman, can I
Yes.
make a comment? Ms. Owens, I just want you to know my hope was that the answer to my question was, no, we don't have any applicants, and that we would have voted, I would have voted to have you stay on this commission, because I really do appreciate everything you've brought to this commission over the years. Unfortunately, I think we're bound by the ordinance, and I have personal experience with that. So I think we have no choice but to go forward as stated. But who knows? Maybe this applicant isn't going to be, whoever it may be, isn't going to be acceptable to this commission. And I would like to see you apply in the future, even if it's a year from now. So with that said, thank you very much.
I also want to thank you for your service as well. And nothing against you personally, I want just following the ordinance, because again, I was affected by the Water Commission the same way, so thank you.
The city has an obligation to bring new people on to the staff in all of our departments, and that's understandable. It's at this time the city is under a great reconstruction with our city ordinances and the sewer. And yes, I would like to have seen that through because I've been working on it for so long. But thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Kitty. We do appreciate everything that you've done. And we will stay tuned with what's going on. The year goes by real fast.
Yes, and that's another thing, as you mentioned, Mr. Chairman, we did lose 6 months, and that was pretty stressful that we couldn't move this project down the road. We lost a whole year with the rewrite of Ordinance 13, so that's put the whole commission back a good 18 months. And I'm sad for that part because we needed to move forward.
Thanks for your kind words, Ms. Owen. You've made it somewhat easier to me personally to have to preside over this particular meeting. Moving on.
Chairman Miller,
Yes, ma'am.
can we go back to the rezoning request by Mr. Smith?
Yes, ma'am, we can.
And have a clarification to the motion made that the 30 days will be upon city council's final action, as well as, Mr. Smith, do you believe that the property owner would issue you a document stating that they are in favor of or support your pursuing the rezoning of this property?
Yes, I believe we can ask him for that. I think he's wanting to get rid of this property. It's been on the market for more than 3 years. I believe he would grant us that.
And do you believe could you get that document to me prior to the city council public hearing?
Can I clarify, that's October 15th? October 7th.
2nd.
Okay. I think we can.
Okay.
And we should bring that to you?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Bring it directly to me, so
Okay.
we can have it for city council showing that he has approved, that, he is in support of it. And if we could get the motion amended to clarify 30 days after city council action. Is that all right with you, city attorney?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I did. I said, so you need a motion. I said, yes, okay, what she said.
That's really all, as so amended.
Okay, as so amended.
Did you get that, City Secretary? Okay.
Thank you.
I second it.
Do I have to vote on it again? Do I have to vote on it again? Okay. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, Commission.
The mic is still on, just so you know.
Thank you.
We're on item D3, the draft zoning ordinance. And we're supposed to make possible recommendations related to the draft zoning ordinance and discuss to make possible recommendations related to the strategic committee. The Water Commission sent two recommendations to the draft zoning ordinance. I'm assuming the city attorney has copies of those, and the city city administrator have copies of the changes that we're trying to. We want to incorporate into the draft ordering changes. The draft zoning ordinance changes. Jesus.
My understanding, we're just pulling forward existing text into the zoning ordinance. So it's just a relocation of regulations and not necessarily amending the regulations.
Okay. So is there any action that the Planning and Zoning Commission has to take other than make sure we get these incorporated into the changes that we're still working on?
Unless the Planning and Zoning Commission wishes to make any changes to those regulations, at this point, we're just making sure that they get incorporated into the ordinance, into the draft ordinance.
I guess it's,
Would be removing the gray water and rainwater from the zoning ordinance and putting that into the water company ordinance.
ordinance 54.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So irrigation, rainwater harvesting, gray water harvesting, low-impact site development, all get removed from the zoning ordinance and go to ordinance 54. And then, because there's other sections with the turf grass is exactly the same, so no changes there. That stays with the ordinance, with the new zoning ordinance. The only comment that we had was that, now speaking on the behalf of the Water Commission, is the xeriscape. The wording was different in 159 versus what, so this is just for consideration. We're not saying you have to do it this way. It's just the way it was in 59. I just brought that forward to be considered. Whoever's, maybe the technical committee can look at this and decide which way to go with it. So the text under xeriscape is just what's in 159 currently, and it's just for your consideration.
I just have a question about that. I have no reservations about the recommendations overall to delete or change, but the wording under xeriscape, under A, 1DA, second line, I don't understand what that means. Must use xeriscape landscaping on all area of the year that are not planted in turf.
I think that's a typo.
Yeah, so I don't know what it's supposed to say.
Let me look at the,
All areas of the yard?
I think areas, where's 159?
Yard.
That could have been
Yeah, I didn't
What?
want to assume it said something that,
all areas of the yard,
okay, areas of
of the yard.
Okay.
Typo.
Right,
Sorry about that.
Gotcha. And see if there's something else. Builders and developers are restricted to offering xeriscape landscape plans which meet this ordinance. Well, isn't that a bit redundant? Of course, you have to follow the ordinance. You're restricted to do that. Maybe it's just redundant, I don't know.
Yes,
I believe that can be taken up with
Yeah.
the technical committee
Yeah.
more than
Yeah.
anything else.
Okay.
Again, the Water Commission didn't exactly say you have to do it this way, it just
No,
said,
I
I just wanted to
understand.
brought that forward to be considered.
Yeah, I
So
was
I'm
just-
not,
I didn't want to read or not read anything
Yeah.
into it, just so I know, and lawn, and then the second from last line in that area, lawn area does not include an area or areas of a property which have allowed to remain, which have been allowed?
Have been allowed.
Have been, okay. And in its, or in their, I'm not sure which is right, its native state or their native
It's,
state?
yeah,
Anyway, just some things I
there's a
need
typo. You have to go back to
clarify.
159
Yeah.
and get the right wording.
Gotcha, thank you.
Yeah, that's my mistake.
Thank you for
typos.
doing that, by the way.
Thanks for being so complete, because it had been several years before they've been caught one way or the other. And, hey, you know, we read this somewhere else.
I think there's the two commissioners working on the subcommittee on ordinances that are trying to clean up the ordinances, so I thank them.
I have a comment about the strategic committee
I
when we
was,
get
I
there.
was just, I was getting ready to say that, strategic.
Oh, yeah. My only question there is that the last sentence there, conducting of garage sales exceeding the number of allowable sales. And it talks about you can only have one sale per quarter. I assume that's January through March, et cetera, et cetera. But if there's no kind of permit or fee, I mean, who monitors that? How do you know if your neighbor's not having that every month or something?
What we're trying to preclude is residents having weekly,
Right. No, I understand, but who monitors that? You know, who's the cop on that one? Because if no one is officially saying, okay, you can have it, now we see you only had it once a quarter or whatever, I mean, theoretically.
I understand.
You can't enforce it, it almost, you know.
well, between PD and the neighbors,
Okay. Yeah.
we will know.
One way to do it, I guess.
And I have a question about, I think we're being very lenient in saying cannot exceed 3 days in length. That's a long time. 3 days, that would be Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Sometimes you find that the estate sales will be several days in length.
Sometimes they even go 4 days. I mean, if you have an estate sale company, they often goes Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
And I was trying to cover, you know, at times people need to have.
Beyond the garage sale thing.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
trying to cover all the different aspects of it.
Gotcha, thank you.
And this would be put under the home-based business section of the new ordinance.
Is there a reason why we are not asking or saying that they don't have to have, no fees, permits, or registration is required to conduct garage sales? In other places, I guess, that I've lived, there's typically, you get a permit, it's nominal, $5 or something, you know? But that way, there's a tracking mechanism and you're not putting it on the neighbors or the PD. I mean, I'm just wondering, was there a reason why we just said, you go ahead and do it, but this is what you're limited to?
I think we were trying to make this as easy as possible for our residents to still be able to have and conduct those types of sales in this type of manner. But planning and zoning, you can recommend any changes that you desire to see to this addition, proposed addition to the ordinance. And we will adjust it accordingly. Just wanted to go on and bring this to your attention that we were going to incorporate something in, you know, incorporate this into the ordinance, but however y'all desire this to be done and monitored, and we'll make those changes and incorporate it.
I kind of concur with Karen. If we don't have some sort of fee, even if it was a refundable fee, what the aftermath of some of these garage sales is, you have signs all over the place, and then no one feels the need to go get them. Maybe if we charge $10 and say, you got your $10 back to me, if you make sure all your signs are down within a day or two, or something like that. I mean, it just kind of helps police it, and then we do have a record of who did what when, and there's no, you know, neighbors don't have to get mad at each other about something like a yard sale every other week.
Now, the city's sign ordinance talks about those types of signs, and there is a limit of time.
Right, I understand, but that would be something we could, when you came for your permit, they could be reminded of it, remind them, you know, here's maybe little instructions or something. Pay your $10, this is where you can put your signs, not put your signs, gotta clean up your signs, whatever. Anyway, it's just something I prefer instead of just, I mean, I think a lot of our homeowners associations don't even allow garage sales, if I'm not mistaken, so.
Correct.
I mean, there's some pretty strict rules out there. And I don't think I think we're kind of thinking together, it's not an overburden. I mean, I know it does put a burden on City Hall, but not here.
Yeah, that's my only concern is adding additional work.
Yeah.
Doing the permit is one thing, but then doing the refunds on top of that, I might agree to one, but not the other one.
Well, that's why I said a nominal fee, even $5 to get a permit, and then, you know, you're done. City Hall doesn't have to be involved after that, but that gives us a record, because otherwise, why have it in the ordinance if you're not gonna monitor it? And, you know, I don't think it'd be appropriate to put it on the PD, because somebody may not have seen that a week or two ago, but somebody else might have, you know, I just think it's a cleaner position to say nominal fee, $5, and that helps a little bit to, you know, pay for the time invested in writing out a permit.
Yeah, this came out during city council. I think the mayor brought it up last week as citizens' concerns that he received of citizens doing it too often. So this is a result of that.
Yeah, well, I think you have to have a check in the system then. So, okay, is it up to us to just deal with that at a future date or something, or?
If we can go back in the technical committee and relook the garage sales and home business and see how it's worded and see whether or not it includes what apparently is a consensus of what the commissioners would like to see in it. And we maybe left it too loose going forward. I can't remember exactly what we said. It may be incorporating everything that you just said. I don't know. But we'll take a look at it.
Okay.
I have one other discussion item concerning the zone ordinance. I was looking for, this was brought up to my attention by Commissioner Diaz about flagpole heights. Couldn't find it in the new zoning ordinance, but it is in 13. I just needed help finding it because I couldn't find it. Is it in there?
No,
It's in there
It's
somewhere.
in 13, but it's in the new one? Okay, so you do have it, okay. So it's in there, okay.
It's going to be in the new one.
It's not currently in there, okay? So I was not wrong that I couldn't find it. Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion on the draft zoning ordinance?
I do have one, just clarification on the Water Commission recommendations. So is it to, the recommendation, is it to just delete those sections out of the ordinance, in the zoning ordinance?
Yes, sir.
Or, but I guess what I was, maybe have it there, and you just reference, put a wording that say reference ordinance 54. I mean,
We plan on putting a reference in to guiding them to that. But I believe the thought to the moving those areas to the water ordinance is there are some requirements, TCEQ requirements, that we need to make sure are followed.
And, you know, one thing, the water manager is the one that approves the irrigation designs and all that, because that way it checks on, you know, backflow prevention, things like that, so it's not the city inspector, so that's why the reason for moving it back to the water department has the control of that. Yeah.
I agree, moving it to the, it's
Yeah,
just
that's a
making
good
that
point.
as a reference, as a note, you know.
Want to add that once Ordinance 159 is incorporated in Ordinance 54 as well as Ordinance 13, the zoning ordinance, then Ordinance 159 will be repealed.
Any other discussion on the draft zoning ordinance? Then we move down to strategic committee. Possible recommendations related to the strategic committee. Dave, did you and Dave have any chance to talk with the representatives from city council?
I spoke to one of the city council representatives and asked, how do we proceed? And he seemed to be surprised by the question, so. Well, I'm not gonna go that far, but anyway, I left it at that. I said, you know, I'm not in charge of it. I'm just wondering what's going on. And I'll just leave it at that. I named for that person who's on the strategic committee. And so I don't know what to say other than that. I'm waiting for further instructions. Let me put it that way.
You know, this is an elephant that's been in the room. This is an elephant that's been in the room for the last year at least, okay? Because nobody's quite sure. I know it's been told to us several times or explained to us several times, but yet, no matter how many times we've heard it here, I could not tell you for the life of me what we're supposed to be doing with the strategic committee and coordinating with city council and what they're supposed to come back to us with. And that's just being truthful. And I don't think I'm particularly unlearned, but I just cannot grasp of what we're supposed to be doing with it. Can any of my commissioners help me with it? I know city administrators explained to me. I'm afraid to even look up at the city administrator because she's told me many times what we're supposed to do, but I can't get a grasp on it. What that subcommittee is supposed to do, and apparently, the representatives from city council don't have any better grasp of what that subcommittee is supposed to do. Can anybody help me? One more time. And we have it on tape now, so I can go back and listen to it over and over and over again. I don't know if we had it on tape before.
The strategic committee was supposed to help coordinate the movement of the ordinance rewrite and coordinate that movement of that document from from the Planning and Zoning Commission to the City Council. Now, currently, the document is, Marissa is incorporating, do what? She is incorporating the changes, the legal changes with the document that we had a bunch of other changes and edits to be made to. So she is in the process of getting that accomplished. It is, that task is probably nearly as daunting as the commission's work that's been done on the document already. She needs a little bit longer to get those changes and all pulled together. And then my understanding is that when she completes that, it needs to go back to the technical committee, who's going to do another review of it. And then make sure these last few things are incorporated in. And I believe there may be another area that y'all wanted to relook at, and it had to do with your garden homes. Okay. So in my opinion, I don't think we're ready to go to involve the strategic committee yet. I think when the document is in a better form, it comes to planning and zoning, and if it's the document that y'all want to have the city council consider for approval, then I think at that point in time, the strategic committee could come in and help coordinate the process that we're going to be taking. Because y'all will also have to have a public hearing on this document as well, before it can actually go to city council.
Can city council have a copy beforehand to speed up the process? Or?
I think that's probably a very, very good recommendation there. Give them some time to look through it.
Going back to your comment about the garden homes, it's a dimensional regulation table, 2.0507, that we want to go back that I presume want to go back and spend some time on. So
We can put that on the next agenda, right?
just specifically talk about that.
Think so. So y'all can go on and start talking about that, yes.
Oh, we can.
Well, I mean, yeah.
It's an open item.
Yeah, I don't have a copy of that. I don't know that everyone has a copy.
Although it does say discuss and make possible recommendations related to the draft zoning.
Yes, I mean, you can discuss that section. I don't know if y'all have a document to look at to
I do.
discuss from.
Yes.
I think, well, whenever we want to start talking about it. I think we may have been a little ambitious to have our lot requirements for garden homes at 10,000 square feet, but I'm not so sure 4,400 square feet is the right answer either. So, and I know that is a traditional garden home lot if you talk to any developer, so I understand where our petitioner was coming from. He was pretty much going by the book for a garden home, so I'm not here to tell you I know what the right answer is, but I don't think it's either one that we came up with so far.
I mean, what we had discussed previously I think it was a rude awakening to all of us to hear Mr. Overman's presentation on garden homes, because based on what we had gone through, we had really gone from 3/4 of an acre to a 1/4 acre. But, then seeing his presentation, we're going, oh my gosh, and so
Well, we really didn't spell out garden homes in the ordinance.
no.
We said we were using RN, which says residential neighborhood district, lots, and then we defined it as medium density.
Medium
We never,
density, not-
where garden homes is high density.
Right.
So we need to be careful with the word garden homes in the future,
Right.
that it is not the same as medium density.
I mean, even though I think our comprehensive plan, doesn't it say garden homes in it? I mean,
Nope.
it's not
Oh.
on that particular site, but,
I think it says
Says
garden and patio home,
yeah,
to be
so.
exact.
But this is a different site, it kind of makes that a moot point right now, but had he been wanting to put it in there where we've designated it, we almost have no choice, I guess, but anyway, my concern with, seeing his plan, and I thought it was a good plan, I certainly don't want to disparage what he was trying to do in any way. My concern was the distance between the actual homes themselves, not even the property line, I mean, where the property line would be located. We're talking about 10 feet between the wall of one house and the wall of another house. To me, that's pretty darn close. My back porch is wider than that. So beyond 10 feet, I guess for me, it's up for discussion. What does it need to be? But that's where I am. I was okay with almost everything else. The depth of the lot and everything else I was fine with. It was just the distance between the actual homes themselves.
Well, and when you looked at the plating that he did, and it just really came out high density, which isn't in our comprehensive plan. Medium is. I mean, and I certainly understand his need to make a profit and all, but, yeah, that was just too much.
I actually thought of, before that meeting, and I said, well, it was too hokey to do it. I actually thought about trying to get with the city and getting 2 cones put in here and a tape measure, so I could visualize how far apart or how close those homes would be. And if we put a cone there and a cone here and say, okay, this is how far they'll be, 10 feet, 15 feet, 20 feet, I might have a better idea. So, well, I know myself, I didn't want anybody up on close to my house, okay? And I took care of that. Other people in Garden Ridge, they live here because of that same idea. So I wasn't surprised to hear that. But going into the future, with our demographic potentially changing, okay, well, it is changing, but potentially changing, these things may be more acceptable going into the future as we're discussing. And so somewhere in the future, I would like to have a couple of cones, traffic cones, and a tape measure available. So when we start talking about these things, we can just lay it out on the floor and say, okay, well, that's close, and that's too close, or whatever. Because I don't know if all of us, I know myself, I can't visualize how close 10 feet is, other than like how Dave put it, how big his back porch is, or how big a bedroom is. That's kind of small for a bedroom now. But, you know, those kind of things help me put it in my mind how close the houses would be. And there, from that, I can start extrapolating how wide, not necessarily how wide, well, even how wide the streets would be, the alleys would be, and stuff like that, and get an idea for it.
Nancy, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Is that, half of that table, is that 8 feet?
That's 8 foot, yeah.
Well, from the edge of where that,
Yes.
yeah, because there's 2 tables there.
Yeah.
From there to there is 8 feet.
And I thought of that, you're right, I thought, I said, well, it's 16 foot, and that's one of the reasons I didn't bring it. It was hokey, and I said, I don't want to do the cone thing, but I said, because I'll be limited to 16 feet with the tables, because there's 2 of them together. Yeah, and so I said, well, maybe, you know, we'll decide 20 feet, 25 feet, or whatever, and that's the only reason I didn't bring it up. And it was kind of late by the time I said, you know, boy, I'd really like to see that. But that was a big contentious point with everybody, was the density. And I would have liked to have seen, some of the other things they brought up were in addition to the density, you know, the streets, how wide the streets were, the layout, that we didn't do site planning, we didn't do impact studies and all that kind of stuff. It's my understanding that stuff comes further down the line, after we've approved the variances and stuff, and says he's going to come in, and we still have a chance to go back and say, no, Mr. Ogerman, this, you know, it fits most of what we have in the ordinance, but this isn't going to work. We can still reject some things in there, can't we? Or once we approve the variances, we're locked in.
Once you've approved variances, you're locked in, okay?
Well, and we also, we need to really put our thinking caps on, because we do have under the residential neighborhood residential neighborhood caption, the minimum lot area is 10,000 square feet for 4 dwellings, not,
4 dwellings per acre.
huh?
4 dwellings per acre.
Right, oh, 4 dwellings per acre. Oh, and then 10,000 per, yes.
Yeah.
An acre's almost 43,000 square feet, so it's actually,
Yeah.
10,000 each.
Right.
So that's something we need to think about is, or are we just gonna say, we're not gonna call them garden homes? Because, I don't know, I guess in my, what's the difference between garden homes and zero lot homes?
really nothing.
That's what I was thinking. And I don't think we were anticipating zero lot homes.
Correct. I think that's why we went with medium density instead of high density.
Right.
Right, but, you know, but again, I'd be amenable to something less than 10,000 square feet, but not 4,400 square feet. I mean, it's, to me, again, it's the distance between the homes, the width of the lot, basically.
Further discussion?
Some of the comment, you know, on this table here, on page 44, you know, it does have this, the setback line from the property line that we can look at then to include some of your thoughts, David. We have minimum front setback of 10 foot right now, and we have a question mark. I think the technical committee may have changed that to 15, okay? Minimum side yard setback, 5 feet. So we, you know, so I think so, that's why I said we need to look, some of these numbers on this table needs to have more to look at than just the 10,000 square feet.
Right.
There's other things in here we need to consider for this RN district.
Can I make a suggestion that we limit the further discussion this evening? I know
Yeah.
myself, I didn't bring that new,
yeah.
what's gonna see, Mr. Hire didn't bring his. I don't know if Mr. Jackman brought the new one. I brought the old one because the things tonight pertain to the old ordinance. That's the one I brought with me. And I think we can put it on the agenda
I'm good
for
with that.
next month to discuss it more at length, to be truthful, which I just feel ill-prepared this evening.
Makes sense.
To discuss it. I'm following you because I'm remembering some things, but I'd sure like to have it in front of me.
So I'd like to see what the technical committee may have doing some changes on there already, so it'd be good to see that table.
All at the same time.
Yeah, maybe that table could be emailed to all of us.
It's
Nothing
other
different?
than the minimum front yard setback.
Oh, it's the one difference?
Yes.
Oh, okay, never mind.
Because that's what I'm saying, I think we learned something from.
Oh, certainly.
Mr.
Yeah,
Owen
certainly.
coming forward
Sure.
with the garden home concept, and we're like, oh my gosh.
So, okay, so next time. I'm good with that. That's
Other discussion? So we have one thing for the future agenda items. Anything else go on the agenda?
That's the next topic.
Going once, going twice? Last time. Future agenda items for next month. Okay then, I guess we'll move into the date and time for the next meeting is October 13th at 6 o'clock here at City Hall. Going to the second citizen comment period. I see no citizens. Is anybody in the
one
audience?
citizen.
Excuse
You
me.
got one citizen.
Excuse me. I knew as soon as it came out of my mouth. As soon as it came out of my mouth, I realized I'd erred.
She'll have nothing.
She had nothing to say. Other than reprimand me. Then I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
I'd like to make a recommendation that we adjourn the meeting of September 8th.
I second it.
I have a motion and a second for adjournment. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting adjourned at 7:39. Thank you, gentlemen.
Cynthia.